We meet at the European Sustainable Energy Week. We've met many times in many events. I'm always impressed by what you bring as a young professional in the energy sector.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So, energy hubs and the green energy transition. Can you elaborate a little bit? You're doing something very interesting, I think.
Yes, so actually there is a conceptual project that goes back to 2021 or something like that. And it was just, mesmerizing into the foresight of how the energy transition can be developed and evolved. So this specific concept is more about like energy hubs. I have the feeling that it's growing more and more when we think about what is better to have like energy hubs into the synergy of different type of energies, we talk about agnostic all the time versus always one trending every 6 months.
This sounds good, but there are a few issues when we go to hubs. First of all, most people, when they hear hub, they only think of data hub. This is not what it is. This is a green hub. So can you elaborate a little bit and tell me exactly what it is that you expect to do with that? And touch a little bit on energy storage, long energy storage, if you can.
In the energy hubs in general, the idea is the connectivity and also getting out of the dependency. So when we think about, maybe it's also data, but not
we're
not
fully
talking about it. The energy on its own is like every city or every region should have, or it's willing to have these energy hubs, and they can have this agnostic of different long duration energy storage in the mix. So because we never know, the fluctuations of the climate and so on. So the idea behind is I think we are ready and people are not yet willing to that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also understandable because sometimes it's lacking cross-sector support into understanding this. And that's why, these partnerships and collaboration is one of the roles that are taking the most voice.
Yeah, but do you mean people from the energy transition, so engineers, etc., or let's say prosumers and consumers, or both?
I think both, but mostly decision makers. We come from the tradition of having verticals into different. It was the era that everyone was in their verticals, but we are transitioning into our era where we need to have a more helicopter view, and we have that option with technology these days. So the relationship, taking that relationship out of that and growing that, it's part of the whole transition as well. We need to change the relationship we have with energy.
Mm-hmm. Let's discuss a little bit about the grid and the integration of renewables. I was reading one of your articles and I realized that I was wrong thinking that we don't have the technology needed to introduce renewables into our grid as it is today. Can you please elaborate? We do have technology, we do have something?
Yes, we do have. We have technology, we have already business cases happening, and this is just plug in. And some of the technologies are already having these things ongoing in action. It's not anymore R&D.
Do you have some examples?
Well, Brand Miller is one of them.
Yeah.
They have this business case happening in Italy. They already they already signed something in New York, and the projects are already just to plug in, and then it takes something like 30 minutes. This is something that I read last month. Maybe it has advanced because, as you see, renewables and sustainability every day it's a new innovation.
Exactly.
So they're only advancing. They are not going backwards anymore.
Okay, I am color me impressed because all the discussions we've been having on the energy transition is how we lack enough storage to integrate renewables, but it seems that this is changing.
Yes, it is changing because these technologies, this thing about working in parallel, right? Different parts of different sectors are working in parallel. So we have to trust somehow, in a way, that one of them is already advancing something that is needed. So it was a good concern at the time, but now someone has fixed it. And that's the idea all the time. So these concerns should always flow because it's necessary, but then also have the trust that someone is actually working on them.
Being at the Sustainable Energy Week, I can't help but ask about policy. So what you already described, which already sounds quite good to me, does it come with regulation that helps it, or it's unregulated, or do we have, let's say, some hopes for future regulation?
I am pushing these days new leadership models. It's not about changing the leaders, it's about changing the perspective of how we see these things. So regulation is indeed helping the transition, but sometimes it kind of blocks it. So the mix of decision makers sometimes are not only in regulators, but also like how the industry is engaging with regulators.
So if you had, let's say, a magic wand, if you had the possibility of changing one thing, what would that be?
Update the relationship we think of how leadership looks.
Thank you very much, Lidia, for this very interesting conversation. And thank you all for watching. And if you liked what you saw, then don't forget to become a member of the Enlit community.